Daniel Webster speaking at the dedication of the Bunker Hill Monument. We are among the sepulchres of our fathers. We are on ground distinguished by their valor, their constancy, and the shedding of their blood. We are here not to fix an uncertain date in our annals, nor to draw into notice an obscure and unknown spot. If our humble purpose had never been conceived, if we ourselves had never been born, the 17th of June, 1775, would have been a day on which all subsequent history would have poured its light. And the eminence where we stand, a point of attraction to the eyes of successive generations. But we are Americans. We live in what may be called the early age of this great continent, and we know that our posterity, through all time, are here to suffer and enjoy the allotments of humanity. We see before us a probable train of great events. We know that our own fortunes have been happily cast, and it is natural, therefore, that we should be moved by the contemplation of occurrences which have guided our destiny, before many of us were born, and settle the condition in which we should pass that portion of our existence which God allows to men on earth. The great event in the history of the continent, which we are now met here to commemorate, that prodigy of modern times, at once the wonder and the blessing of the world, is the American Revolution. In a day of extraordinary prosperity and happiness, of high national honor, distinction, and power, we are brought together in this place by our love of country, by our admiration of exalted character, by our gratitude for signal services and patriotic devotion. The great wheel of political revolution began to move in America. Here its rotation was guarded, regular, and safe. Transferred to the other continent, from unfortunate but natural causes, it received an irregular and violent impulse. It whirled along with a fearful celerity, till at length, like the chariot wheels in the races of antiquity, it took fire from that rapidity of its own motion, and blazed onward, spreading conflagration and terror around. When Louis XIV said, "I am the state," he expressed the essence of doctrine of unlimited power. By the rules of that system, the people are disconnected from the state. They are its subjects. It is their lord. These ideas, founded in the love of power, and long supported by the excesses and the abuse of it, are yielding in our age to other opinions, and the civilized world seems at last to be proceeding to the convention of that fundamental and manifest truth, that the powers of government are but a trust, and that they cannot be lawfully exercised but for the good of the community. We hope that the growing influence of enlightened sentiments will promote the permanent peace of the world. Wars, to maintain family alliances, to uphold or to cast down dynasties, to regulate successions to thrones, which have occupied so much room in the history of modern times, if not less likely to happen at all, will be less likely to become general and involve many nations, as the great principle shall be more and more established, that the interest of the world is peace, and its first great statute, that every nation possesses the power of establishing a government for itself. But public opinion has attained also an influence over governments, which do not admit the popular principle into their organization. A necessary respect for the judgment of the world operates, in some measure, as a control over the most unlimited forms of authority. Let us thank God that we live in an age when something has influence besides the bayonet, and when the sternest authority does not venture to encounter the scorching power of public reproach. When the Battle of Bunker Hill was fought, the existence of South America was scarcely felt in the civilized world. The 13 little colonies of North America habitually called themselves the continent, borne down by colonial subjugation, monopoly, and bigotry. These vast regions of the South were hardly visible above the horizon. But in our day there has been, as it were, a new creation. The southern hemisphere emerges from the sea. Its lofty mountains begin to lift themselves into the light of heaven. Its broad and fertile plains stretch out in beauty to the eye of civilized man, and at the mighty being of the voice of political liberty the waters of darkness retire. And now let us indulge in honest exultation in the conviction of the benefit which the example of our country has produced, and is likely to produce on human freedom and human happiness. And let us endeavor to comprehend in all its magnitude, and to feel in all its importance the part assigned to us in the great drama of human affairs. We are placed at the head of the system of representatives and popular governments. Thus far, our example shows that such governments are compatible not only with respectability and power, but with repose, with peace, with security of personal rights, with good laws and a just administration. We are not propagandists, whatever other systems are preferred, either as being thought better in themselves or as better suited to existing conditions. We leave the preference to be enjoyed. Our history hitherto proves, however, that the popular form is practical, and that, with wisdom and knowledge, men may govern themselves, and the duty incumbent on us is to preserve the consistency and cheering example and take care that nothing may weaken its authority with the world. If in our case the representative system ultimately fail, popular governments must be pronounced impossible. No combination of circumstances more favorable to the experiment can ever be expected to occur. The last hopes of mankind, therefore, rest with us, and if it should be proclaimed that our example had become an argument against the experiment, the knell of popular liberty would be sounded throughout the earth. These are incitements to duty, but they are not suggestions of doubt. Our history and our condition, all that is gone before us and all that surrounds us, authorize the belief that popular governments, though subject to occasional variations, perhaps not always for the better in form, may yet in their general character be as durable and permanent as other systems. We know indeed that in our country, as any other, is impossible. The principle of free governments adheres to the American soil. It is bedded in it, immovable as the mountains. And let the sacred obligations which have devolved on this generation and on us sink deep into our hearts. Those are daily dropping from among us who established our liberty and our government. The great trust now descends to new hands. Let us apply ourselves to that which is presented to us as our appropriate object. We can win no laurels in a war for independence. Earlier and worthier hands have gathered them all. Nor are there places for us by the side of Solon and Alfred and other founders of states. Our fathers have filled them, but there remains to us a great duty of defense and preservation, and there is open to us also a noble pursuit to which the spirit of the time strongly invites us. Our proper business is improvement. Let our age be the age of improvement. In a day of peace, let us advance the arts of peace and the works of peace. Let us develop the resources of our land, call forth its powers, build up its institutions, promote all its great interests, and see whether we also, in our day and generation, may not perform something worthy to be remembered. Let us cultivate a true spirit of union and harmony. In pursuing the great objects which our condition points out to us, let us act under a settled conviction and a habitual feeling that these 24 states are one country. Let our conceptions be enlarged to the circle of our duties. Let us extend our ideas over the whole world of the vast field in which we are called to act. Let our object be our country, our whole country, and nothing but our country. And by the blessing of God, may that country itself become a vast and splendid monument, not of oppression and terror, but of wisdom, of peace, and of liberty, upon which the world may gaze with admiration forever.